Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Trent Talks. I'm super excited to have Marley Baird with me, the guru of video content creation, and the creator of the Baird method. It sounds so formal. I like it, the Baird
So
method.
formal.
But Marley, thank you for being here. I'm super excited to have you and welcome. Hopefully we have a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
So first things first, because I know you started your agency about, and forgive me, I should have researched this, slap on the hand. You started your agency, what, about 3 years ago doing this?
Yes.
Okay. What got you into this part? Were you always, would you have a video background, or is it just like, hey, I see a niche, I'm pretty good at this, let me fill it?
Yeah, well, it was actually by fluke. I was a dental hygienist before I got into video marketing, which, I mean, the crossover is just very intuitive. Not at all. So I was a dental hygienist, and I knew when I was in dental the entire time that this wasn't going to be my career, my forever career. I didn't want to, I mean, people don't like going to the dentist, so working for one isn't always the best either. So I was bored between patients, so I started doing their social media, and I helped like build their website just for fun, just because I was good at it and I knew how to do it. And then their IT guy was like, hey, can I refer you to another client of mine? Well, he referred me all of his clients. And before I knew it, I had like a full social media business as a dental hygienist. And I only knew what I was doing from like what I had experimented with and what I had just learned just by playing on social media. So at that point, I decided to like take some courses and learn how to do this, because I was like, this is actually quite lucrative. I could make a great opportunity here. And I always wanted
Pays pretty well.
Yeah, I wanted to create my own kind of lifestyle and business. I just didn't know that social media was going to be the way. And then I started to make videos to get myself more visible on social media. And then before I knew it, some of those videos were really blowing up. And I was like, how did I do that? Can I reverse engineer this to do it again? Can I do this for my clients? And
it's one of those like, was it a boo-boo, or did I actually know what I was doing there? Let's figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, like getting into my career was a fluke, and then going from social media management into exclusively video marketing and working with influencers for their YouTube channels and their videos, it kind of organically just grew into that. It's not really what I set out to do, but what I love. I mean, even when I was a kid, I would steal my dad's video camera and make videos with my cousins and stuff. So
you sound like my daughter. My daughter, we got her an iPad, and she literally runs around and she takes stuff and she'll act out scenes. She's got a great memory. So she'll act out stuff in movies with characters. And then, yeah, so she loves the same thing, just being in front of video the whole time.
That's the best. Yeah, it's fun.
So, okay. So here's the question. When did it finally click that, okay, this is the way it works? Like, I figured the game out. I learned the system. So let me create the Baird method.
The Baird method.
When did you kind of put that all together?
It took some time, because and I honestly, there's still so much more to be learned. Like the algorithms are changing, and video
Constantly.
content, the way that there's always new developments and new things that I'm learning. But the biggest thing was understanding how YouTube is a search engine, not a social media platform. So when I first started making videos, I was just trying to make videos that would entertain people and show my personality, and thought that I should be clickbaity to get their attention, because that's what we kind of do on Facebook and Instagram, right? We got to get that dramatic hook to really engage the audience. And so one of my first videos was, did you know Instagram does this? Which might work well on Facebook to hook them, but even to this day has like 40 views or something.
Really?
So yeah, because people aren't searching that. Like you have to use YouTube as a search engine that it is. So then, like, one of my first biggest YouTube videos was how to use Canva, the graphic design software. And this was when Canva was still somewhat new, so it wasn't searched as much. There wasn't a big competition for it, but it had a high search volume. And even now there's a huge competition for it. But because I put it out at the time that when it was like a medium kind of competition, now I'm ranking and I have the authority when it comes to YouTube and graphic design and things like that on YouTube. So that video has tons of views and gets people finding that video organically all day, every day. And because I have a lead magnet in it, they click the link below, they join my email list, they join my Facebook group, they are pixeled for Facebook traffic. It's like getting 5 birds with one stone organically through YouTube.
And I think people sometimes forget, I mean, we know it when we stop and think about it, but people forget that YouTube is a long-term strategy.
Absolutely.
But it's also short-term strategy. Like it's a weird dynamic how it's both.
Yeah.
Because
it's like
of the content
source it's a traffic source and a sales funnel at the same time.
Right. But yet, like your videos, the ones that you did, like the original Canva training video you did, I imagine has had tons and tons and tons of views.
So many.
Because it also, just like search engines, it has that ability to get grandfathered in. Like, hey, this is one of the first pieces of content we had that highlighted this. People have liked it. So naturally, we continue to think people are going to like it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so YouTube wants people to be on their platform. So they're going to boost those videos that are keeping people on the platform. So that's why that video does so well. And that's what we keep in mind for every future video we create.
Well, I know you've got a lot of, I mean, we can go to I can pull up your about page again. I mean, you've got a lot of, shall we say, players that you have worked with.
Yeah.
I know, I mean, most notably, one of my favorites is you got Rachel, you've got Steven. I mean, and then not to mention you got Alex Charfen, you got James Friel. Like, these are all guys that they provide insane amounts of value.
Yeah.
And what's funny is I didn't know until I started doing some digging, because like we talked about before, and talking about chopping this show up and being able to repurpose it for content, stuff like that. Until I started digging, I didn't actually know. I'm like, okay, well, man, how is Steven doing all that work himself?
Mm-hmm.
Man, Rachel, she's got to have, like, how is she editing like all these videos and bringing them all down? And so it was this concept of like trying to figure out how everybody does this. And all of a sudden I hear Rachel, she's like, well, yeah, I think you should use Marley Baird for your YouTube videos. I'm like, Marley Baird? All right, let me do some research. The next thing I know, I'm like, Marley's doing Steven's stuff. Okay. And then I go look it up more. I'm like, there's James. And I start going through the list, and like, Marley's worked with Gary a little bit. Okay. So maybe I should look into this Marley Baird chick and have her on here to see what she's actually doing. But
that's awesome.
I think it's so cool that you've been able to help people systemize it. Because I think the most confusing part on my side, and I said this to you when we talked, is that you don't understand how to take the whole content and make it into like a systematic process of driving traffic. If you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, too often we look on, I mean, and some of this works, but you can go to like BuzzSumo, or you can go to other stuff, and you're just looking up phrases people are searching. You're trying to just do content that way, which can work, but it's not necessarily going to drive sales. It's just going to drive traffic.
Yeah. So some of my first videos, before I knew what I was really doing on YouTube, they didn't have a lead magnet in them. So every single video should have some sort of call to action, whether it's a webinar or a free download or a book a call with me, like click link below to get this thing, because then that's how you're going to take the next step. It's like if you went on a great first date and you wanted to see them again, you got to ask for it. Don't play hard to get. Don't think that they just got enough value that they are going to come back. Give them a reason to come back. Give them a reason to like you and allow them to be nurtured. So every single video should have something that it leads into your marketing strategy. So we want to create impact-driven, profit-focused content, not just pretty content that makes noise. We want to make an impact.
Well, that's such a good point, because I think there's a struggle, and I know even with myself, when I think about it, there's a struggle mentally, an initial hurdle to get over adding a call to action to every video. Because mentally you're like, man, I just want to deliver value. I don't want these people to think that I'm spamming them every time, that I'm just selling them every time. But you use a great analogy. Like, you're going to ask for that second date, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're not just going to go, oh, it was a good first date. Hopefully she likes me enough and she'll meet me out for pizza next week.
And don't go into it thinking that you're being spammy. What you want to provide them is giving them more value. So for example, in my videos, if I'm teaching you how to film a YouTube video that retains people throughout the video, which is then going to boost your YouTube rankings and of course get people to know, like, and trust you better. Now, what's the next step that you need? Would you like to know how to batch film 6 months of content in 3 days? Wouldn't that help you too? That's not me spamming you. That's giving you the next puzzle piece to create your entire picture. So whenever you're creating that lead magnet or that next call to action, don't go into it from, this is something for me to be able to pull you in. It's, this is what I can give to you. And if this is what you need, and if you want to work with me next, you'll be now in the funnel or in the nurturing sequence to learn how we can do that.
Well, that goes back to a comment I've heard, you hear Russell Brunson say it, and I've heard Gary say it at times. And that is, if you're not giving people the opportunity to work with you, you're actually doing them a disservice. So in this situation, yeah, you can be giving this person the information of how to get people to stay attached and watch your videos, but you're not actually giving them the tools they need after that to be able to say, okay, well, what do I do with them watching my video? Yeah. So by those call to actions, you're actually giving them something they need versus actually trying to sell them something. And I think it's it's just a mentality thing. that I think people miss a lot.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Thank you. I feel very happy.
Yeah.
So where do people start? Because obviously there's the whole process, and you and I have talked a lot about your process. And well, let me talk about that first, because that way people will be able to, we'll start there and be able to backtrack down. So your process, you work with people, and I'm going to go brief overview. You work with people and help them to batch in a day or two of video filming, roughly 6 months worth of content. And then your team helps them kind of chop it up and be able to edit it and make it look really pretty to repurpose it for all the different social media platforms, postings, all that, etc.
That's a big part of what we do, like the tactical part of it. Then there's also like, what are you saying in these videos that is creating messaging that builds a movement? And then the next part of it is getting it omnipresent so people see you everywhere and making sure that every single call to action, every hook is leading into your marketing strategy. So it's this very thorough overall, like from concept to execution, coming up with the entire video strategy, all the titles, all the storyboards, actually writing the scripts that really psychologically pull your audience in and drive them to the call to action. Then yes, we batch film 6 months of content in 3 days, and then do all the editing, the repurposing, manage the social media, run ads to it, the YouTube SEO. And what this does is it's like, imagine being able to duplicate yourself, and you have this army of salespeople who are constantly spreading your message, perfectly crafted message, and selling what you do around the clock, around the world, perpetually, because they're videos. And it is you. We have duplicated you in a way that leaves a legacy. Well,
okay, so where does someone start in that process? Because because a lot of times, and we know this, everybody, when you're first starting out, most people don't have the ability or the budget to be able to hire someone out. Mm-hmm. So if you have to pick and choose early on for someone, if they have to pick and choose pieces of, okay, well, this is focus on this part, or focus on doing these couple things, where would you suggest someone, if they're like a solopreneur just getting started, where do they start with this whole process?
When I first started, it was me and my husband and my iPhone stacked on a bunch of books on a chair, and like natural lighting, or my husband would hold the lamp with no lampshade. Like we were totally bootstrapping it. And then we would edit the videos on iMovie, which was free on my Mac. There's also other free softwares that you guys can use. But at making videos based on what we know people are actually searching for and what they want to hear, not videos that I think are interesting. I'm making videos based on what are people actually searching on in YouTube, and what are people asking? What are the frequently asked questions that I get? Or what are the questions that I had that got me to where I am today once I found the solutions, and making videos on that.
Okay. Now, is there a certain like number to start with, or do you start with short form, long form? And the reason I say that is because obviously everyone, we want to, like you and I have been talking, right? We want to build to the point where we can say, okay, we now have good content. And I mean, I'm very fortunate and blessed that I get amazing people like you and the other guests that I've had on here. So that'll be a great source of content. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people don't necessarily have a live show like this, or they don't necessarily have a podcast. So they're starting to do videos. So you're saying, think about the subjects, the questions people are asking. But with that, like, is there a specific, do they need to plan on certain times, lengths, frequencies early on? Because obviously time is an issue as well as budget.
Yeah. So
are there little shortcuts?
When I create videos, I'm creating it with YouTube as the foundation, because if I make a YouTube video that's like 5, 10, 15 minutes, like that's the kind of length I like to go for. From that YouTube video, I can then repurpose it into multiple pieces of content. So that YouTube video, how many little standalone 30 to 60 second little clips do you think you could pull out on that? Especially when you're talking about different topics or explaining different steps to a solution that you're providing. You can pull those out and turn that into little mini videos, into like the video memes, into like Instagram stories. You get tons of content right there, instead of you feeling like, I have to film a Facebook video, I have to film an Instagram video, I have to go live on Facebook or on YouTube and look, what are these other things? And yes, it's still good to go live on Facebook and Instagram stories. Like I love Instagram stories. That's my playground. But that's what gives people the behind the scenes content and like the day to day. But then you also have that foundational content that's being discovered organically on YouTube to meet people where they're coming to you to find the solutions. You win them over with your charm and personality, and then they come into the day to day stuff. But then you also don't feel pressured to create the day to day stuff because you have this content on autopilot.
It's an evergreen. It's always out there. Get it. That makes total sense. Okay, so here's the other question. Early on, when people are on a tight budget, one of the things they look at is you have the dichotomy and the balance back and forth of, should I be doing a lot of content, or should I take the time because I'm not very good and just make sure the few pieces I put out are really, really, really like clean and professional? It's that whole like the perfection versus volume thing.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
That's an interesting question, because I do want people to just start, whether that means like, okay, I'm going to go live on Facebook for 5 minutes a day. That's also your way of practicing your speaking and your delivery. And then you also get to engage with people. I do think it's important to have good quality content, which does take a little bit more time to plan out, to do the keyword research and to storyboard or just kind of bullet point the talking points. Because remember, like I said, it's evergreen. So if you can go back to the beginning of my YouTube channel, you'll be able to find that video where I was like, did you know Instagram does this? That doesn't have very many views. Because
I'm so going to find it after this.
Go find it.
just for principle. I'm going to give you one more video. You're going to be 45 views.
The lighting isn't good. But I also, it's there. I tried. It shows that I'm human.
Right.
And then you see the progression of how things got better over the years as I continued to practice. So when people are like worried about just getting started, think of the consequence of not getting started. And you're going to wish in the future that you had started earlier. And all the people who needed to find you but couldn't because you didn't have anything up there, they all went to your competitors. And your competitors probably don't have the same level of integrity and service as you and I do. So it's unfortunate to think that when you are not getting started, kind of like what you said, who are you doing a disservice to? Both you and the people who needed you.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is there's that, obviously we know early on when you start, there's always that imposter syndrome. And I've heard Steven talk about this. And Steven says, look, I've been doing this now. I sat next to Russell for 4 years. He's been on his own now for 18 months roughly. And he's like, I still feel imposter syndrome sometimes. It still happens. And I think that's what people have to realize is, look, that part never goes away. I've heard Russell talk about, I can't remember where I heard him say it. I heard him say that he has that moment almost every time before he speaks, when he gets ready to walk on stage, when he has to mentally fight through that, like, hey, I'm legit. Look at all the things. And like, I can't remember where he said it. I heard him say one time, like, he reminds himself, this is all the success we've had. This is why these people are going to have value from hearing what I have to say. Mm-hmm. And it makes you think that, like, even someone in his position, and we know like ClickFunnels is on pace to do well into 9 figures this year. And we all know Russell's got his records of selling on stage and stuff, but it still comes back to everybody has that bit of imposter syndrome. And I think once that goes away, that would be worrisome, because then you stop caring. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big thing for me is I'm like, okay, every time, like I love these, for example, these shows, every single time I told my wife this, she kind of laughs. She goes, oh, that's cute. I'm like, we're not going to cute. We're going to go, that's nice. But like every time I do these shows, I get nervous right beforehand. Mm. And it's not because I'm like, oh, like, no offense, but it's not like I'm like nervous I'm going to talk to Marley. I'm like Asi Akbar watch. I was nervous I was going to talk to Akbar, or nervous to talk to Daxi or to John Parks, or, you know, whoever. Had Rachel on audio one. It's just that you want to provide your best. Yeah. And I think that's such a huge fear. And that's where the question initially came from when I was asking. I'm like, okay, should people be going with 5 or 6 pieces and then spend a lot of time on them, or go with the volume? And so I'm going to come back to that one. So you would say take the time and do some planning, do the keyword research, and spend time and do it right. Not that the video has to be perfect, but take time and do your planning is what it is.
Yeah. And really the planning, like, I know that people think, oh, planning, it's going to take a lot of time. What actually takes a lot of time is winging it and doing it wrong and wasting your time. So if you spend, and I actually teach this, is how to create 60 days of content in 8 hours, where you spend a little bit of time just batching what you're creating. So if I sat down and I planned 10 videos, how long would that take me? Maybe half an hour. But if I planned one video, what if that one video took me 10 minutes? But instead I batch it and then I save time because I'm in that zone. I'm in that like wave of thinking, and I create that in one sitting. Then even filming the content, how long does it take you to set up and tear down your camera equipment? Even if it's 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes 10 times.
Right.
Instead of you just batching 10 videos in a row. And so a lot of people get stuck in thinking, oh, the planning, I just want to wing it. But then when you wing it, do you have the format in mind? Do you have your talking points, or are you just rambling and then you have to do it over? And then when you're editing, you haven't filmed with the format, so the editing is complicated.
Right.
It's actually saving you so much time in the long run.
Interesting.
To have this process and this format in place.
Now, when you talk about planning, I mean, obviously you guys have been doing this for a lot of people and you've done it very large. So you have this down to a science. I know that part. But when someone is planning on their own, is it a matter of just like when you're planning, are you just researching topics, or are you getting topics and then like almost like you're writing out a presentation, like you're doing topics with bullet points and, you know, that kind of stuff that you'll have up on a screen or something? Is that the kind of planning you're talking about?
Yeah. And as you also get into the mindset of creating content, you're going to be looking for content everywhere you go. Like maybe you're at the grocery store and you see a marketing campaign for soup, I don't know, and it gives you an idea. Yeah. Like you're also looking for the content that turns into your stories for your videos. Gotcha. I have a spreadsheet where I actually just go into there when I get a question that I'm like, ooh, that's a good video idea. Then when I make those videos, I can just, or when I'm doing another batch filming day, I can then go into the spreadsheet, see the videos or the topics that I've come up with that I've just brain dumped. And then, then I put into a format of like, what's my intro? What are the steps of things that I want to teach in what format? What's my lead magnet, my call to action? Because every video needs a call to action. And how am I summarizing this? And what am I leading them to next? Do I have other content that I can say, hey, you watch this. Now the next thing, like go click on this video. Because everything you want to be able to give them like an ecosystem of content too. Show why you're positioning so much value.
See, that's super huge what you just said there. And I think I get what you're kind of, because we're getting more in depth into it. I get what you're saying about the planning part. It makes total sense. Because you're talking about batching the one day. So if you're batching 1 day or 2 days, whatever, right? But you're able to go through. And so all of those times, because my thought process is, okay, well, so then you just have to like create and come up with all the concepts and topics. But from what you're saying is you keep that kind of the spreadsheet as an ongoing kind of living document. And you're like, okay, here's a new question. Boom, I'll put this in. And maybe you spend an hour a week and just add in, okay, well, here's going to be my call to action. Here's this, here's that. And that way you may have 25 topics. So then when you go to batch record, you're like, great, here's my 25 videos I'm recording. I've already laid out everything else. Now I know what I'm talking about. Here's my final result I'm shooting for the call to action. I think that is like, that's an insanely like good strategy. That's going to be the only challenge is for people like me who we're not detail people. I have to become a better detail person. But no, that's really, really amazing. I actually never thought of just laying it out like that, because you're right. That saves you tons and tons of time.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. So now we're going to get to the fun stuff for those people who are past the starting point, who are like, hey, Marley, you know what? I've got some good videos. I need to take it to the next level. Mm-hmm. What are the stages? What's the steps? How do they kind of connect with you, work with you?
Well, I'm doing free strategy calls for anyone who's interested, anyone who has that message that they want to turn into a movement and they want to get that omnipresence so that people are actually hearing them and being converted into their funnels. Right. So we have our website, vipvideocode.com, that you can check out what we do and book a call with me there.
And wink, 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 guys. I might have recently scheduled one of these calls. It might be a pretty good strategy call. But okay. So then when they work with you, and I know you covered a lot of this in strategy calls, so I don't want to like take all your thunder away. Like, what's that process look like? Do they come to you? Do you go to them? Is it a mix up of the two? How does that work?
Yeah, it depends on the client, because we also have different levels depending on where they're at and what exactly they need. So sometimes clients come to us and they say, I want to make this entire 6 months of content in 3 days. Like, come fly out to me. Let's do it, which we do that. But also as I'm developing, like I'm understanding their message when we have this strategy call is, well, how do I make this impact driven, profit focused? Do you have your offers and your value ladder dialed in? If not, let's start there and then create the content around that. Make sure you have a converting offer. And then also, but there's also different price points depending on where they're at. Do you have a team that you want to plug your team into the system and you have it in-house? Do you want us to do it for you? Do you have the steps, like I said, ahead of time that when we make this content, it's not just pretty content, it's impact-driven, profit-focused. So we also make sure that all those steps are in alignment before we get started. But then once we do get started, it's like, we hammer everything out for them. We create their entire video strategy, write the scripts, storyboard the videos,
Nice.
batch film 6 months of content in 3 days, and then manage it all for them for the next 6 months.
So you guys can really function that in any aspect, whether it's like, hey, we're your start to finish, we're your planning, strategy, recording, cutting, editing, everything. Or, hey, you have some internal teams, great. We'll help you with the strategy. We'll help you batch your videos into a few days of recording, and then we'll help coach your internal team on how to actually do it the right way.
Yeah. The biggest thing we want to provide is that for you as the visionary entrepreneur, you shouldn't, although you could be doing this by yourself, you shouldn't, because you have a team to build, you have a movement to lead, you have a family to love and spend time with. That's what being an entrepreneur is all about, is having those elements in place, but not being the one doing all the tactical work yourself. So we position you as an omnipresent leader through everything that you're doing and positioning your offers so that you are the only option to your dream clients, but in a way that it's hands off for you so that you can be the one to lead your movement.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start this new today. It's the first time I've done this on the show. It's just from Marley. So if you had to give them one piece of information / a question, like to really make them think about where they are, and you didn't get any time to prep for this, so I know this is fun for me. From where they are, to give them the ability to kind of like process, like think about where you are and understand, what was the one question you would tell them, or the one piece of information you would tell them to analyze their business and see like where you get where I'm going with that. Like, forgive me. You can tell I didn't plan this question. I just decided I'm going to start doing this on this episode. I'm not a big planner. Got to improve on that. But yeah, what's the one question that you would ask to everybody and say, think of this, ask yourself this question to identify kind of where you are and what changes you need to make?
Something that I learned from one of my mentors and clients, Charfen, was to do a time study. And so writing down every single thing you do, and actually in like 15-minute increments, we have this full page that's like just a chart where you write in every 15 minutes what you've done. And then looking at that to see, did I spend my time tactically, strategically? How much time did I spend in self-care? How much time did I spend with my family? And then when you're able to get an overall picture of how am I spending my time, am I actually working in what's strategic and moving the business forward, giving me what I need in self-care so that I can show up as my best self, and then also loving the people around me? Because a lot of the tactical work we can outsource, we can delegate to our team, we can build a team around us, because being in the strategic zone and being able to give ourselves and our family what we need and what we're committed to is what's going to position us stronger and more fulfilled and be able to give back better. So that's what we're also creating with this video strategy, is allowing you to lead your movement without you having to do all of the tactical things. So I run a time study quite often to also hold me accountable to, am I spending
How often do you
time
repeat that?
What's that?
How often do you repeat your time study?
Sometimes I actually just have it all the time. Like
oh, really?
Yeah, because I like to know how, and it also helps to keep myself productive so that I don't want to write down, I scrolled through Instagram for 45 minutes.
I'll be honest, I'm a little nervous right now, thinking about doing one of these. I'm like, oh man, as you're saying this, I'm thinking about my day. I'm like, oh, there's this, that. Yeah. So I'm going to have to do this myself.
Yeah.
But I think that's a huge, huge point. So, yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to take too much of your time. This has been awesome. So where do people find you on social media?
Yeah, you can go to facebook.com/Marley Baird Media, my YouTube channel, where I have free tip videos on there. So how you can create your video strategy and the messaging for your movement, at youtube.com/Marley Baird Media. Also Instagram, Marley_Baird. And feel free to come book a call with me at marleybairdmedia.com.
Awesome. And the calls are very good. So if you're considering it, and I will say this, kudos to you, because a lot of people on a free consultation, it is sales, sales, sales. And I can tell you firsthand, because we did this literally, it was a week ago. We had our call and we were talking and stuff. And it was more of sitting with someone who genuinely wants to help you, whether it's help you work with her or just help you be able to improve your processes.
Yeah, that's my intent. I want to give you strategy, show you the path, and let you decide if that's something that you can do on your own, or is it a good fit for us to work together?
Awesome. So Marley, thank you so much. It's been awesome. Guys, Marley Baird. Make sure to check her out. Go find her, follow her. And I can tell you, watch her videos. You will not be sorry you spent that time. That will be a good 15 minutes in your time study.
Yes.
So again, thanks, Marley. Guys, have an awesome day. Love you guys. I'll see you next time on Trent Talks. I really hope you enjoyed and got a lot of value in this video. If you did, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below. I'm going to be answering all the comments myself. And also, come find me on your favorite social media platform and tell me what else I can help you with.